Star Trek Online is your best destination for diving headfirst into the Star Trek universe. You can take command of a starship, install your crew, and play for a fantastic storyline that includes appearances from many legendary characters from the Star Trek franchise. However, as the game enters its 16th year since the 2010 launch, you might need a refresher on the video game's storyline. Set 30 years after the events of Star Trek Nemesis, Star Trek Online features its own unique storyline. Trek Central has teamed up with the developers of the popular MMO video game to recount the storyline of Star Trek Online. Now, this video is designed for both returning players and brand new players, so if you want to jump in and play, or just dust off your old starship, this is the video for you. Keep in mind, we'll be talking about major story arcs and plots for Star Trek Online, so there will be spoilers. You've been warned. Hi everyone, I'm Captain Jack, and this is Trek Central. To celebrate 16 years of Star Trek Online, we're recapping the storyline, straight from where the adventures began back in 2010 to where we find ourselves in 2026. Now this video has chapters, so if you want a refresher on a certain section, head to that section using the video description. If you're interested in more Star Trek content, consider subscribing to the Trek Central YouTube channel. You can also support the development of our YouTube videos by becoming a patron using the link below. Okay, make it so. Star Trek Online kicks off in 2409, some decades after the events seen in Star Trek Nemesis, the final film of the Next Generation era. The United Federation of Planets and the Klingon Empire are at war, and the Romulan Star Empire is in a period of great instability after the Hobus supernova. That was the supernova we saw in the Star Trek 2009 film. Meanwhile, the Dominion is fractured and in the process of rebuilding. Remnants of the Cardassian military, along with the Alpha strain Jem'Hadar, disrupt the peace near Deep Space Nine, all while Species 8472, known as the Undine, along with the Iconians, further destabilize the galaxy, pitching the Federation and Klingon Empire into a war with each other once again. As the player begins their journey, they're plunged into uncertainty and active duty. Depending on which faction you start with depends on the tutorial you play. As a Starfleet officer in 2409, the player is thrown into chaos when the BORG launch an attack on Vega Colony. This is essentially the tutorial mission for Star Trek Online. It's a great introduction story that not only gives you a taste of the game mechanics, but also introduces one of Star Trek's greatest villains, and one of the game's key supporting characters, Starfleet Admiral Quinn, voiced by Brooke Chalmers. In the Star Trek Discovery tutorial, it kicks off in the 2250s, where players meet Cadet Sylvia Tilly, voiced by Mary Wiseman. As the Federation is on the brink of war with the Klingon Empire, the player is ambushed by the House of Mokai, which mirrors the Battle of the Binary Stars. Given the intense ambush, the player has to take command of their ship and come head to head with a Klingon known as Ja'ula, the primary antagonist of the Asia Discovery expansion. If you choose to start as a Klingon Defense Force player, you must prove your worth as a warrior to earn command of a starship. You'll be fighting against the Federation, challenging the commander of the ship, and interacting with legendary characters such as Ambassador Worf, voiced by Michael Dorn, and Chancellor Jempok. Romulan Republic players witness the birth of the Romulan Republic, starting with attacks on the agricultural colony of Virinat. And battling against Telshia oppression, the players will meet faction leader Datan, Hovan Kev, and Telshia contact Hakiv. This culminates in the choice of either allying with the Federation or the Klingons. Meanwhile, Jem'Hadar players, bred for the purpose of warfare and servitude, start out fully equipped and ready to fight for victory, led by the Vorta and the Founders, eventually under the banner of either the Federation or the Klingon Empire. The first major era of Star Trek Online is the Klingon War. After the tutorial, the in-game story continues with a major full-scale Federation Klingon War. By this time, the Klingon Empire includes the Gorn, the Orion Syndicate, and the Nausicaan clans. The Klingons have also become aware of the Undine, Species 8472, in the Alpha and Beta quadrants, believing that several high-ranking officials in the Federation are actually Undine spies. This mistrust and hostility led to a brutal war between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. As the conflict rages, the player must seek to uncover the Undine mystery at the Vulcan Monastery on P'Jem. While searching for answers, the player is in the crosshairs of the Klingon ambassador known as B'Vat. Investigations in the Briar Patch will uncover his secrets, ultimately leading to a struggle to stop B'Vat from unleashing a doomsday machine he has pointed at the core worlds of the Federation. Thankfully, as a player, you resolve this situation and the Doomsday machine is stopped in its tracks. As a player, you work heavily with Worf and Chancellor Jempok. While the Klingon War rages, you eventually come head to head with the biggest threat, the Undine. With an infiltration by Species 8472 on both sides, the Federation and the Klingon players must also continue to stop the Borg, who keep up their attempted invasions. While the Klingons and Federation are busy battling each other or dealing with the Undine, the Romulan people remain scattered across the Beta Quadrant. Due to the supernova, which destroyed Romulus, the Romulan Star Empire is all but fallen. From the ruins, the Romulan Republic is formed. The leader, Dyson, oversees his surviving people. The new Romulus world is actually an ancient Iconian world. The player who works with the Romulan Republic helps them establish and build this new homeworld, defending it against hostile forces such as the Cardassian Struggle, the Folians, and of course, the Tal Shiar. However, an ancient Iconian gateway is hidden deep beneath the surface. Remnants of the Star Empire refuse to give up, such as Empress Sela, voiced by the Next Generation's Denise Crosby. She refused to acknowledge the sovereignty of the Romulan Republic and is determined to control all Romulan colonies. Her enforcer, Colonel Hakiv, is installed as the head of the Tal Shiar and is instructed to quash any resistance to her reign. Hakiv actually uses Borg technology to augment the Imperial Romulan fleet. Showing how desperate he is, he even installs a Borg implant to replace an eye lost in combat. During his quest to ensure Romulan supremacy, he learns of the ancient Iconians and their long-lost technology. Remember the Iconians, they become more important as the story continues. It's during this time that Hakiv makes contact with the Alachi. Originally introduced in the Star Trek Enterprise episode, Silent Enemy, this terrifying mycelial species reproduces by infecting humanoid hosts with fungal spores. Secured by the promise of power, Hakiv becomes a secret operative of the Alachi and their own masters, the Iconians. Due to this new alliance, Hakiv lies to Sela and the Tal Shiar, doing the Alachi's bidding. He becomes obsessed with restoring the Iconians as a galactic power. Hakiv used the Alachi as shock troops, burning any Romulan colony or resistance cells. Hakiv became so obsessed with the Iconians that, as their thrall, he used decathelium and protomatter to cause the Hobus supernova, destroying Romulus and Remus in 2387. Deadly encounters are handled by the player while pursuing the mad Tal Shiar commander, culminating in an epic battle. The final fight with Hakiv and his forces led to the execution of the Romulan. However, in a strange series of events, Empress Sela is taken away by a mysterious Iconian ship, vanishing into the unknown. But this isn't the last we hear of her. Meanwhile, a trip to Deep Space Nine leads to another adventure. The player must do battle with the Cardassian Struggle due to their stealing of the Bajoran Orb of Possibilities. You track the Struggle to the Badlands in pursuit of the orb, where you'll learn that Gul Kardec of the Struggle has been using the artifact to travel to the Mirror Universe. As a player, you recover the ancient Bajoran relic and bring it to Bajor, where you have an orb experience. You learn that the Orb of Possibilities in your possession is actually from the Mirror Universe, and you must return it to its own reality. Using the orb, you're able to open up a rift to the Mirror Universe. This leads to a much darker version of Bajor, where you'll defeat Captain Lita, voiced by Deep Space Nine's Chase Masterson, and face off against Cardassian Gul Kardec, who is actually a changeling. In the aftermath of that conflict, you discover the Terrans, the Struggle, and some renegade Alpha Quadrant Dominion forces have forged a dangerous alliance. After returning to your universe, you discover the hidden Dominion base in the Alpha Quadrant, and learn that the changeling known as Lars is forming a new link with the 99 lost changeling children. Lars has been lying to the children and the renegade Jem'Hadar that serve them, telling them that the solids of this quadrant mean to exterminate them. As a player, defeat Lars and help the new link learn the truth. Of course, in typical Star Trek fashion, this isn't the last we hear of the Dominion. The USS Enterprise is as famous as the entire Star Trek franchise, so naturally, you might wonder whether USS Enterprise-E is in Star Trek Online. The ship is out of service by the time the game takes place, but that doesn't mean the game does not have its own special starship. Around this time in the storyline of STO, Starfleet and the Federation officially commissioned the USS Enterprise-F, an Odyssey-class starcruiser from Utopia Planitia shipyards. Captain Vakel Shon, an Andorian, takes command of the newest starship to bear the legendary name. The Enterprise-F pops up numerous times in Star Trek Online's story missions, so while you're in-game, playing along, don't be surprised if you're working alongside the ship and her crew. Of course, if you've watched modern Star Trek, you may have noticed the USS Enterprise-F appearing in Star Trek Picard Season 3. Well, the ship did appear in Star Trek Online first, and was actually a design submitted for a fan contest. From there, the Star Trek Online dev team refined the design into the Odyssey-class Star Cruiser, officially making it as the successor to the USS Enterprise-E.
Still no response from the break-even, Captain.
Scan them. Maybe they're unable to respond to our signal.
Okay, back to the storyline. While all these events are unfolding, the Borg do not remain quiet. Arguably, Star Trek's greatest villain is up to something in the STO story. While Borg incursions and attempted invasions, like the Starfleet tutorial, take place, it seems the Borg are being provoked. But by whom? A distress call from a Tal Shiar vessel under attack by Borg forces requires your assistance. While fending off the Borg attackers, the Tal Shiar starship is boarded and assimilated by the Borg. It turns out the Tal Shiar were researching stolen Borg tech, and the Borg wanted it back. Tracking the Borg activity leads to a Federation science facility on Omicron Kappa 2. There, the Borg are using nanites to assimilate the whole planet. After rescuing Dr. Cooper, the unassuming head of a science team, you discover the Borg were setting a trap for the Undine, also known as Species 8472. After their own previous dealings with Species 8472, as seen in Star Trek Voyager, the Borg now think they can assimilate the species once and for all. In a shocking turn of events, the Undine destroy Omicron Kappa 2, but the Borg manage to escape with a prisoner. With the help of Starfleet Admiral Tuvok, voiced by Tim Russ, and the USS Voyager, the player is able to catch up to the Borg, who now have an assimilated Undine. You enter fluidic space in an attempt to stop the Borg incursion, discovering the remnants of dozens of Alpha Quadrant species starships. This revelation shows the Undine are being provoked by the Iconians, who are sending in ships to fluidic space to antagonize the Undine, making it look like the Alpha and Beta Quadrant powers are seeking a war with them. The Undine make no distinction, and prepare to retaliate in force. Star Trek Online's storyline continues with the Romulan Republic inviting representatives of the Federation and the Klingon Empire to share in their research of the Iconian Gateway. This is the one we mentioned earlier. Even Klingon Ambassador Worf is present. While activating the Iconian Gateway, it goes wrong. A catastrophic cave collapse forces the delegation to enter the active portal to survive. The player and the delegates end up in a mysterious facility in subspace, occupied by mysterious and strange Solanesian-based lifeforms. Yes, Mr. Worf does recognize these as the same ones from the Next Generation episode, Schisms. It turns out the Solanae are working with the Iconians. They've been monitoring the major races of the Milky Way galaxy for thousands of years. The player and the delegation are able to escape, but more gateways are activated across the Milky Way galaxy. While borrowing a Solanae ship, you accidentally emerge over New Romulus from a hidden gateway in space. Much like the wormhole did for Bajor, this gateway positions New Romulus as a transport hub and a major player in galactic affairs. New research reveals that the gateway connects to a Dyson sphere in the Delta Quadrant. However, before anyone can begin to explore the new discovery, the ownership of the Dyson sphere is contested. The Voth seek to have it under their command, but it is revealed that the Dyson sphere is actually a massive generator for omega particles. These are actually required to power the Iconian Gateway network, and the Voth want it all. Now, the conflict with the Voth draws the attention of the Undine, and they use the Dyson Sphere Gateway to launch a massive assault against both Earth and Kronos in response. This forces the Klingon Empire, the Romulan Republic, and the Federation to put aside their differences and join forces. Eventually, the United Federation of Planets and the Klingon Empire devise a plan to form a united front against the Undine threat in 2410. This eventually becomes the Khitomer Alliance, which steadily grows over time to include other members. Together, these powers can stop the Undine invasion. However, this victory draws the attention of the Iconians, who make a move. Tara, the leader of the Iconians, appears at the victory celebration on the Klingon homeworld of Kronos, and, with a wave of her hand, disintegrates the Klingon High Council. This is a warning: do not test the Iconians. This brazen act only strengthens the Khitomer Alliance, as the war of the Iconians looms on the horizon.
We give you a single warning. Do not attract our attention again.
Before War of the Iconians fully kicks off, Star Trek Online heads to the Delta Quadrant in the expansion called Delta Rising. This saw the Intrepid class, USS Voyager, confront its past and what it left behind in a far distant region of space. After exploring the Delta Quadrant nearly 30 years ago, Starfleet and the Federation are now desperate to learn more about the Iconian Gateway network. Using these gateways opens up a direct passage to the Delta Quadrant. The Khitomer Alliance all dispatch envoys to the Delta Quadrant to learn more about what is going on. Not all is well with the Delta Quadrant. The Vaudois have risen to power and seize control of much of the quadrant. This is a species seen in the Voyager episode Dragon's Teeth. 7 of 9, voiced by Jerry Ryan, is devastated because she is responsible for awakening the Vaudois nearly 30 years ago. A crisis ensues when the Vaudois attack the Kabali, another species encountered by Voyager. The invaders learn that the Kabali are using fallen Vaudois soldiers as material to reproduce. Now matters get even more complicated when it is revealed that the Kabali are doing the same with the Fallen from the Alpha and Beta quadrants. After battles, investigations, and research, it's revealed that some of the Vaudois leaders are under the control of the bluegill parasites. These were once encountered by Captain Jean-Luc Picard and Commander Riker in the 24th century, when they infiltrated Starfleet Command. You may remember the episode when Picard and Riker blew up somebody. There are some amongst the Vaudois ranks who suspect there is something wrong. You join with them to expose the bluegill infiltration and put an end to the Vaudois occupation of the Delta Quadrant. In the final altercation with the Vaudois leader, you discover a device that opens a subspace gateway. As a player, you travel through this gateway and locate an Alachi facility. Upon infiltration of the facility, you find a research lab. The bluegills are a biological weapon of the Iconians. During this mission, you also free an unexpected prisoner, Empress Sela. Remember, she vanished some time ago. Of course, through your adventures as a player in the Delta Quadrant, you work alongside Star Trek legends such as Admiral Tuvok, 7 of 9, Harry Kim, the Doctor, Neelix, and of course, Empress Sela. One of Star Trek Online's biggest events is the Iconian War. If you have watched Star Trek The Next Generation before, you might have heard of the Iconians. In fact, other Star Trek series have also mentioned this once great, but now mysterious species. In Star Trek Online, peace does not last long. The Iconians suddenly return to the galaxy after 200,000 long years. Dismayed by the loss of their world heart and the dwindling numbers of their own kind, the Iconians don't take kindly to others. Known as the Demons of Air and Darkness, the Iconians have been forced to act directly in galactic affairs by the failures of other races secretly serving them. The Iconian species emerges with fleets of starships and legions of soldiers, attacking the Milky Way galaxy and powers like the Federation, the Klingons, and more. With the help of Empress Sela, the player learns the secrets of the Iconians. It turns out, this ancient species is not long gone as many originally speculated. In fact, the Iconians have been secretly manipulating the galaxy for thousands of years. While hidden away, they have recruited allies, sown chaos across space, and kick-started wars. All of this, in a big way, to create a better space for themselves. Only 12 Iconians actually remain alive. This once great species was reduced to this due to an uprising of their original homeworld 200,000 years ago. The fighting force of the Iconians, the one the player has to do battle with, is made up of heralds, genetically engineered soldiers who were once Iconian pets. These heralds are armed by the Iconians with technology that goes far beyond other galactic powers. The Iconian war machine begins its march, attacking New Romulus. Many worlds fall to the powerful aliens, giving the Federation and its allies little time to react. To counter this threat, the player, that's you, joins an elite strike team, which even features legendary Klingon warrior Kahless himself. While Kahless is ultimately killed by one of the Iconian leaders, Tiket, and the sword of Kahless is lost, the Klingon leader takes Tiket's arm in battle. This battle story spreads like wildfire. The Iconians can be hurt. Galactic war rages, with many ships, worlds, and allies being caught up in the ensuing chaos. The fighting is desperate, forcing the Alliance to lean on unconventional heroes such as Captain Tom Paris and his elite squadron, Delta Flight. Using their unorthodox battle tactics, they're deployed to delay the Iconian advance. You learn that the first race destroyed by the Vaudois were the Krenim. Captain Nog teams up with the players to locate some Krenim artifacts. Your mission is to discover why the Kremen were destroyed. It seems some did survive and have been hiding thanks to advanced temporal technology. They actually hid their entire planet by shifting it in time. A Kremen researcher, known as Noye, agrees to help the Iconian War effort. Along with his wife, Claudia, he brings their temporal knowledge to an Alliance think tank. Desperate and out of options, the Alliance resorts to time travel as a means to end the war. This is because the Iconians seemingly cannot time travel, given that their energy-based structure makes it impossible. In order to time travel, the Alliance authorized the construction of a time ship using designs of Noye and a man called Anorax. Yes, this is the same Anorax from the Star Trek Voyager 2-parter, Year of Hell. Knowing that all might be lost, the Alliance sends the player and the crew of the time ship to create a timeline where the Iconians do not attack early. This buys the galaxy time to prepare for its assault. However, this goes wrong. It kicks off a chain of temporal events that fails to change the Iconians, but also raising the Terrans from existence, including Noye's wife. A few members of the species manage to survive in modified subspace. Planets and star systems continue to fall to the Iconian war machine. With all looking to be lost, Emperor Sela convinces the player to undertake one terrible option. Travel back to the time Iconia, the homeworld of the Iconian species, and stop the 12 remaining Iconians from escaping their doomed home planet. While the player agrees, the shock of what they find, 200,000 years in the past, changes everything. In the past, the Iconians were an enlightened and peaceful civilization. The player meets the younger and gentler versions of the 12 Iconians who have been waging the war in the present. Iconia is actually the target of a ruthless militant alliance that craves the species' advanced technology as a means to ultimate power. It seems the Iconians actually have their own version of the Federation's Prime Directive, meaning they won't share their technology and only provide what is needed. As their enemies launch an attack, the Iconians attempt to escape through one of their gateways with their world heart. This is a computer core containing all Iconian knowledge and a genetic library of their world. The player concludes they can't kill the peaceful species, and resolves to help them. However, Sela has other plans. She seeks revenge for the Iconians' role in the destruction of Romulus and kills one of the Iconians, while stealing the world heart in the process. While the remaining 12 Iconians escape, Taket curses Sela and swears revenge. It turns out, this revenge is in the form of a Hobus supernova. Sela realizes that she is the one who caused the destruction of Romulus. Returning to Earth in the present day, and the year of 2410, the planet is about to fall. The Federation and the Khitomer Alliance have lost the war. With all about to come to an end, the player makes a desperate move and opens a communication channel to the Iconian flagship. In the spirit of Starfleet and the Federation, the player hands over the World Heart, no strings attached. The remaining Iconians remember your past efforts and the away teams, and the acts of kindness shown help bring an end to the devastating Iconian War. This species, now able to rebuild, retreats in peace to rebuild their world and civilization. However, Taket still holds a grudge. While the Iconian War may have ended, a rise in the usage of temporal technology during the war will have everlasting repercussions. To start this story segment, we first must go back to where it began, or the Star Trek universe. Set just after Star Trek the original series, players of Star Trek Online can begin a career in the 23rd century Starfleet. As the first officer under the command of Captain Isaac Garrett, a series of dangerous events lead to your promotion to Captain. Several legendary The Original Series locations are visited during your travels, including Taurus 2 and Cestus 3. Your missions take you to Deep Space Station K-13, and during a clash with an enraged and insane crew, you discover they're infected with flying neural parasites from Geneva. During this mission, you bump into Commander Montgomery Scott of the USS Enterprise. He's able to help defuse the situation by using UV light to destroy the parasite infestation. Things get worse when the Nakul, the species seen in Star Trek Enterprise's Stormfront, turn up. They're in the middle of a temporal Cold War, and are experimenting on neural parasites, with the hopes of adding them to their growing arsenal of bioweapons for the conflict. Another temporal anomaly occurs, as Agent Daniels reveals himself. He's able to help you defeat the Nakul, and explain what is going on with the temporal Cold War. However, the Nakul are heading to 2268 in a bid to interfere with the Babel Conference on Enterprise. Temporal Agent Pavel Chekhov, voiced by TOS star Walter Koenig, joins you for the mission. As a player, your mission takes you to the Caleb system. While Agent Daniels insists you not to go, you cannot refuse direct orders from your previous commanding officer, now Admiral Isaac Garrett. At Caleb 4, Garrett's Starfleet task force is ambushed by the Klingon Empire, and a fateful, historic battle occurs. It's during this conflict that Ullum and Nakul are working with the Klingons to tip the balance of power. Unfortunately, the Federation fleet, along with your own starship, is defeated. While you think it's all over, Agent Daniels rescues you and officially recruits you as a Temple agent, being the latest to fight in the Temple Cold War. As a newly recruited Temple agent, you travel across space and time to fight in the Temple Cold War, which brings you face to face with familiar allies and enemies. The mysterious Shadow Man, or Future Guy, once seen in Star Trek Enterprise, is up to his old tricks and is meddling in Temple affairs once more. He's actually recruiting allies across time, including Nakul, who you just dealt with, Vorgons, and Captain Lita of the Terran Empire. In time, the real identity of his mysterious individual is revealed. He's actually called Noye, and is a disgruntled Kremen scientist who begins a destructive quest for vengeance, after learning the fate of his beloved wife, and the Alliance's role in that tragedy. As a player, fighting on these fronts, you clash with Noye and his Temple Axis at several key events in the history of the Star Trek universe. One mission involves thwarting Noye's attempts to recruit the Romulans in the 23rd century. You also witness the fall of Galadon Core to the malfunctioning Doomsday Machine. As a player, you even venture to the Kelvin timeline to stop the Sphere Builders from forming an expanse there. Later, you discover the true fate of Tasha Yar and take part in a story that sees the redemption of Empress Seela. However, this later leads to the discovery of the Sphere Builders' origin. They are the last surviving Tutarians, trapped in their attempt to escape an accident that erased most of their species from history. The Tholians also make a bold move, using the Tox UFAT to destabilize the Nakul's star. It's revealed this almost wiped out the species, prompting them to investigate time travel as a means of changing their past. This is what gets the species wound up in the Temple Cold War. Eventually, they align with the Sphere Builders to establish the Temple Liberation Front. Meanwhile, Starfleet's Temple Integrity Commission, which is a branch of the Federation in the 29th century, also recruits you at one point. However, the Alliance bands together at a meeting on New Romulus to ensure the Temple Front is a success. The final battle against the Sphere Builders takes place at Procyon 5, where heroes past, present, and future battle to save the timeline. Eventually, the day is saved and Noye is taken into Federation custody. After an intense period of combat and loss, the galaxy looks to return to more peaceful activities. Players of the major factions in Star Trek Online look to return to their roots, such as Starfleet focusing on exploration of the final frontier. One of the player's first missions is to investigate a dying star, which begins an unexpected new adventure. Upon arrival, the player allies with Lukari scientist and administrator Kumake, voiced by Kipley Brown. Keep this character in mind, as they're very important in many of the ongoing Star Trek Online missions. While the Lukari are exploring, Starfleet dispatches you to aid Captain Geordie LaForge, voiced by LeVar Burton, and the USS Challenger. He's investigating the Nexus, a stellar phenomenon that only visits this part of the galaxy once every 39 years. Yes, this is the same event seen in Star Trek Generations. As a player, you later accompany LaForge to assist the Lukari with their new colony. While adventuring with the Lukari and Kumake, there is a startling discovery of a planet extinguished with all life by some sort of weapon. It seems protomatter was used to cause this. The substance is the cornerstone of their civilization, and they only use it peacefully. Eventually, the perpetrators of these genocidal attacks are revealed, the Zenkethi. Now, this species, the Zenkethi, have been referenced many times in Star Trek, but never depicted on screen. The Zenkethi are on a mad crusade and are systematically extinguishing planets throughout the quadrant. However, there seems to be no pattern to the planets they target. Some are home to advanced cultures, others are barren and lifeless. It's later discovered that the Zenkethi are targeting planets that contain a strange, geranium-based crystal. For reasons known only to that species, the crystals mark the world as a death sentence, with no exceptions. Tragedy strikes. A Lukari colony is eventually targeted by the Zenkethi crusade. During the brutal attack, a discovery about the crystals is made. These crystals are actually eggs, inside are vicious, insectoid creatures that hatch across the planet. These newly discovered lifeforms are hostile, but they don't appear to be a threat worthy of planetary genocide. The conflict with the Zenkethi comes to a head when they target Bajor. While scans by Starfleet and the Alliance show no signs of the crystalline eggs on Bajor, the Zenkethi proceed with their assault. The Romulan Republic and the Klingon Defense Force come to assist, allowing a victory over the invasion force. However, this is not the end. Just as an invasion force is stopped, thousands of starships are launched from the planets that you have saved from Zenkethi attacks. It's this reveal that startles Klingon General Martok, who realizes what is going on. These ships are things of Klingon nightmares. They are the Hurk, and the creatures within the crystal eggs are their harbingers. The Hurk swarm around Bajor, brutally consuming the starships of all factions. Just as all seems lost, the Bajoran wormhole opens and a Dominion fleet emerges, led by Odo. The forces of the Jem'Hadar are able to turn the tide of battle, with Bajor and Deep Space Nine being saved from the fury of the Hurk. But this is not the end. A new threat emerges for the galaxy to deal with. All across the galaxy, dormant Hurk starships awaken. To deal with this, the Dominion seek the help of their former enemies in the Alliance to stave off this new threat. At Deep Space Nine, old friends meet once again to determine what to do next. The meeting at DS9 features forces from across the Alpha, Beta and Gamma quadrants, assembling to work out what to do about the threat of the Hurk. Odo, voiced by the late Rene Auberjonois, is leading the Dominion Vanguard fleet. The second in command of his fleet is the Jem'Hadar known as Dukan Rex, who is the Jem'Hadar boy that Odo once raised on Deep Space Nine, as seen in the episode Abandoned. The Dominion Vanguard fleet is also joined by the Vorta, Weyun, voiced by Jeffrey Combs, and Loris. But anyway, back to business. Odo reveals to the Alliance representatives that the Hurk that hatched in the Alpha Quadrant are actually a few outliers. The main swarm hatched in the Gamma Quadrant, and the Dominion is now in peril. While Odo pitches to the Alliance leaders to join forces with him, he is met with skepticism and even hostility. Unfortunately for Odo, the memories of the Dominion War have not faded, with the Klingon Empire outright refusing to join the fight. Secretly, some within the Empire are afraid of the threat of a Hurk, given that the species nearly eradicated the Klingons in battle in the very distant past. Thankfully for Odo, a small force of Klingons, led by Martok, agrees to join the fight. As a player, you journey to the Gamma Quadrant to seek ways to stop the swarm. However, this apparent threat does not seem interested in organic life. They consume all things inorganic, and their appetite seems endless. Their starships are designed to slice apart enemy vessels, which are then harvested for consumption. All this done with ruthless efficiency. No fleet is able to stand up to the Hurk. However, in the meantime, Mr. Garak, voiced by Andrew Robinson, locates something on the planet of Bajor. He sends Quark on a convenient business trip to the planet of Karama. The Karamans attempt to use the chaos of the Hurk invasion to finally break free of the Dominion, but this backfired with serious consequences. In response, the Dominion forces blockade Karama and stop anyone from escaping the Hurk assault there. Unless the Karamans submit to Dominion authority, the Founders will let the Hurk devastate their planet. As a player, you're forced to get involved. In a desperate mission, you're able to save Karama and rescue Quark, who has also secured what Mr. Garak wanted. It seems Garak found a device on Bajor, and Quark found an identical one on Karama. This device is a lure, apparently summoning the Hurk to wherever it is activated. It also drives the swarm into a feeding frenzy. Garak confronts Odo, as it seems the Dominion also put one on Karama to punish the species, forcing him to ask the Dominion for help with the invasion. This reckless act, in which Odo was involved in, puts the pact between the Alliance and the Dominion in jeopardy. Thankfully, in one way or another, the relentless attacks of the Hurk keep the pact together. Later, Ferenginar is attacked by the Hurk, which leads Grand Nagus Rom to make a bold act. He fears the Alliance is not strong enough. Therefore, Rom plans to involve the Klingons in the fight. He's able to convince his brother, Quark, along with Nog, Brunt and Lek to go on a heist. Their mission is to steal back the ancient Klingon weapon, the Sword of Kalesh, from the Iconian Tiket. The crew is successful, and Quark turns over the sword to his ex-wife, Klingon Grilka, for a favour. Elsewhere, an embattled Odo reveals that the leader of the Founders is hiding something from both him and the rest of the Great Link. He doesn't know what it is, but the answers may be found on an ancient Dominion station. You travel there and find logs made thousands of years in the past by the female changeling, the leader of the Founders. The knowledge found within these logs is devastating. It seems the Founder was experimenting with genetic engineering. They were attempting to create perfect soldiers for the Dominion. Her first creations were the Fakiri, an experiment based on Klingon DNA and mythology. This project went awry when the Fakiri proved to be too savage for the Dominion to effectively control. The founder banished the species to the Beta Quadrant and began her research anew. During this new research time, she found the Hurk, who were originally a peaceful species. It turns out the Hurk would go dormant every 1,000 years, only emerging from hibernation to feed. They were dependent on an enzyme found in a fungus native to their homeworld. Without it, they could not properly digest key nutrients they consumed. When the Hurk went dormant, the founder harvested the fungus and then eradicated it from the Hurk homeworld. When the Hurk emerged from their slumber, she attempted to subjugate them, ransoming the enzyme so they would fight for her. Unfortunately for the founder, this did not go as planned. The Hurk were not so easily controlled. Their hunger drove them to a state of ravenous madness. The founder, for a time, was able to use lures to direct the swarm, but even this tactic gradually lost effectiveness. The maddening hunger of the Hurk grew so intense, the founder sent them to other quadrants, where their search for sustenance raged, even reaching Kronos. Fortunately for everyone involved, the Hurk eventually went dormant again. In the wake of devastation, the female changeling found a new use for the Hurk and the enzyme. She was able to make Ketracel white, and then use genetic material from the species to eventually engineer the Jem'Hadar. This new army allowed her to realize the Dominion's dreams. Due to the possession of this knowledge, the female changeling makes a move and captures you, the player, along with Mr. Garak and Dr. Julian Bashir, voiced by Alexander Siddig. This is why you're searching the Hurk homeworld for information on the enzyme. Facing an execution, you, along with Garak and Bashir, goad the founder into revealing her sins. Unfortunately for her, Odo is actually disguised and later confronts her. He demands an end to this terrible conflict, but before the two changelings can fight it out, Mr. Garak reveals he is one step ahead. The ever so plain and simple Mr. Garak reveals that he has placed a transmitter keyed to a Hurk lure device on the changeling homeworld. With one press of a button, Garak summons the Hurk. However, things take another turn. A Hurk mutant arrives and kills the female changeling. This enrages Weyoun, who is grief-stricken and moves to take out Odo in retaliation. Jem'Hadar Dukan Rex and Vorta Loras are able to take Weyoun into custody, but the invasion of the Founder homeworld looms. All available Alliance and Dominion forces race towards Empursa, the changeling homeworld. Meanwhile, Dr. Julian Bashir works to craft a solution to the starvation and madness of the Hurk. During the Battle of Empursa, reinforcements from Grand Nagus Rom and Quark arrive, along with a Klingon armada led by General Martok, who is wielding the Sword of Kahless. As a player, you're deep in this conflict. You take on the mission of boarding the Hurk Dreadnought to deploy the cure, and teach their own computers how to synthesize the enzyme. In a fit of madness, Weyoun shows up and destroys your only sample, in an attempt to avenge the loss of his founder to Odo. While Bashir, Loras, and Dukan Rex stay behind to work on alternatives to the cure, you beam to the surface of Empursa to battle the Hurk ground forces with Odo, Martok, and Kira, voiced by Anar Visitor. The ground battle of Hurk forces pushes the Alliance back to the shores of the Great Link. However, back on the Hurk Dreadnought, Dukan Rex realizes that his blood has the Ketracel white that Dr. Bashir needs to synthesize the cure for the species. Therefore, he takes the honorable route of sacrificing himself. The cure works. The Hurk are restored to health and, thankfully, sanity. The species are grateful and humbled. With the female changeling dead, Odo leads the Dominion into a new era. He frees the Jem'Hadar of their Ketracel addiction and negotiates an armistice with the Hurk and the Alliance. But of course, is it all actually peaceful with the galaxy? Star Trek Online's next story arc is titled Age of Discovery, and begins in the era first established in Star Trek Discovery. Players who started Star Trek Online as newly available Discovery era Federation captains would begin in this era, while other captains would experience the beginning of a story as a historical, tactical simulation. The goal of the simulation is to go to Pryor's world and assist the USS Buran. The player teams up with Captain Gabriel Lorca, voiced by Jason Isaacs, and Ellen Landry, voiced by Rekha Sharma. This is during the War of the Klingons, first shown in Star Trek Discovery. Now, they are opposed by Je'ula, sister to the legendary Klingon leader T'Kuvma. She is a fierce, powerful warrior in her own right. Lorca's fleet is destroyed, and the player finds himself stranded in the ice of Pryor's world, battling to stay alive from Klingon warriors. Our heroes manage to escape from a frozen wasteland, and are soon rushing to defend Starbase 1 from an assault led by Jaula's forces. A cunning Klingon warrior unleashes a devastating weapon built from a mycelial network that connects the universe and allows for instantaneous travel. However, this weapon has an unintended side effect, hurling Jaula and her followers hundreds of years into the future, into the year 2409. A year later, in 2410, her fleet emerges from hiding, staging an attack on the Andorian system. Players team up with Captain Cromartie once again and drive Jaula back, but this threat is far from over. It becomes clear very quickly that the Khitomer Alliance is going to need someone with expertise on the mycelial network to combat Jaula's threat. Paul Stamets, voiced by Anthony Rapp, enters in the year of 2410 as a holographic recreation of his Discovery era self. He leads the player on an expedition into the mycelial network itself, where they discover the origins of a mysterious Alachi. Before the final assault can be undertaken, however, the player receives a message from Abraham Lincoln? This is a tribute to the classic Star Trek episode The Savage Curtain. Your captain and 7 of 9, voiced by Jerry Ryan, find themselves on the planet Excalibur, alongside recreations of major historical figures, including Captain Michael Burnham, voiced by Sonequa Martin Green. This is a 2-part mission that takes them through important moments in the history of Star Trek Online. As a player, you must face the most difficult moments of your own captain's career, and come to understand how many choices have unintended consequences and go beyond the simple natures of good and evil. In the end, the players are faced with the most fearsome foe, the Iconian Ticket, this time assimilated by the Borg.
Looks like you could use a hand here. I hope you don't mind, but I brought some friends.
This is Captain Jonathan Archer of the Starship Enterprise.
While the player is caught up helping the Excaliburns and 7 of 9, Jaula has made an unprecedented grab for power. Utilising a little-known ancient Klingon lore, she re-establishes her own house within the Empire, allowing her to address the High Council, and make a case that Chancellor Jempok is dishonourable and should be deposed. Despite her earlier treachery, her words moved several Klingon factions into siding with her, dividing the Klingons into a brutal civil war. Jaula has a trusted lieutenant named Akar, voiced by Robert O'Reilly, who is the ancestor of Chancellor Gowron, also played by O'Reilly, in Star Trek The Next Generation. The technically minded, treacherous Klingon warrior takes advantage of the chaos of a civil war and switches sides in a dramatic moment in orbit over Khitomer. He hands a mycelial weapon to Jempok, who uses it on civilians and delegates in a false flag attack. This is in order to frame Jaula, Martok, and the player for his crimes. Fleeing the weapon's devastating effects, the player finds themselves in a desperate alliance with the last person they expected, Jaula herself. This is a crisis of empire that cannot be solved by simple words or strength of arms. The very meaning of being Klingon is tested, leading Jaula to seek guidance from the monks of Boreth. Tenavik, played by Sam Witwer, standing in for his friend Kenneth Mitchell, guides her on a spiritual journey to a singular conclusion. The only person who can save the Klingon Empire is his former Chancellor, L'Rell, played by Mary Chieffo. There's only one problem: L'Rell has been dead for hundreds of years. Of course, the monks of Boreth have some experience with this particular dilemma. Having created a clone of a Klingon progenitor, Kahless, in Star Trek The Next Generation, Tenavik uses the planet's ancient machinery to create a clone of L'Rell, only to discover that the magic has not transferred her soul into her body. And so, the player captain, General Martok, and Jaula must undertake a journey into the Klingon afterlife, spiritually and figuratively, to rescue her soul. They battle ancient Klingon demons of sins like betrayal, encounter Chancellor Gowron himself, and escape, returning L'Rell to her own body, and bringing her to life in the modern era. In the final battle, the player defeats Akar and Jaula slays Jempok, giving her the right to take his place as Klingon Chancellor. But Jaula knows who the Empire's true leader is, handing a position of Chancellor back to L'Rell instead, a position she still holds to this day. With the Klingon Empire now restored, the attention of Starfleet and its allies turns to the Terran Empire and the threat it poses. A mysterious traveller arrives at the Federation, barely surviving the trip and is rendered comatose by it. They're pursued by shadows of the past. The Alliance must strike a delicate balance in the missions to come. The Terran Empire is being led by the Mirror Universe Wesley Crusher, voiced by Will Wheaton. With chaos taking place, a turncoat Admiral Lita allies with the Khitomer Alliance to follow the plan of a benevolent Terran Emperor. Commander Carl DeSoto of Starfleet Intelligence, along with allies, repel an Imperial Starfleet assault at Izar. There is also an assault on Captain Kumarke's base in the Mirror Universe. During the intense mission, Commander DeSoto is seemingly left behind in the Mirror Universe, along with the crew of the USS Khonshu. Later, Marshal Catherine Janeway, voiced by Kate Mulgrew, would lead a small fleet in an ambush to steal data and kidnap a mysterious android, recently recovered by Federation scientists, from Jupiter Station. This android is actually Alia, the Herald of Vija. In this mission, the player must face off against a mirror version of themselves, known as the Inquisitor. This is in an effort to rescue Alia and defend the Alliance against the Mirror Universe incarnation of Vija, known by Ilya as the Other. Before Janeway can recover Alia or the probe, she is double-crossed by the Mirror Universe Captain Kumarke, Sylvia Tilly, and the Inquisitor, leaving her captured by Starfleet while the traders escape with Alia. Starfleet and the Alliance would lead a daring rescue mission into the heart of the Terran Empire. During this operation into the Mirror Universe, the player must battle the Inquisitor and attempt to rescue Alia. The battles are intense, with the ISS Enterprise and ISS Define battling the player and ally starships. Alia is rescued and returned to Jupiter Station. Even with this setback, the forces of the Terran Empire continue to pursue Emperor Crusher's goals, this time inside the Mirror Universe. To address this, the Alliance held a briefing on Jupiter Station. It is revealed that the Terrans are making a move on the planet of Pavo. Starfleet and the Alliance dispatch a fleet to engage the Terrans at the Pavo system in the Mirror Universe. Captain Sean of the USS Enterprise-F takes the lead, with the intention to disrupt the Terrans' operations. The Other, which is the Mirror Universe's incarnation of Vija, arrives over Pavo and attacks the Allied fleet. In the middle of the chaos and battles, Terran Emperor Crusher takes the ISS Archeron, the flagship of the Terran Empire, inside the Other at Pavo, to merge with the Advanced Artificial Intelligence. It seems Emperor Crusher is successful, as the Other is now under the command of a benevolent Terran Emperor. He sets a course for Earth to deliver a death blow to the capital of the Federation. The Alliance can form a desperate line of defense, with a bold new plan in place. The Federation and the Alliance summon any available vessels to Earth to defend against the forces of the Terran Empire. Before this, a strike force was able to extract the Mirror Universe Dr. Beverly Crusher, voiced by Gates McFadden, from a Terran prison facility. She has agreed to help defeat her son, Wesley. The final battle takes place in the Sol system. Before the Other and the Terran forces reach Earth, the player reports to Jupiter Station to defend a unique holographic defense system. With losses mounting, Allied forces are forced to fall back to Mars. Evacuation efforts are already underway at Mars, with Commander Jarok overseeing the operations. Even with friendly Terran forces reinforcing the Allied fleet, it's not enough to stop the fall of Mars. Finally, the Battle of Earth takes place. The remaining forces and the player fall back to Earth to make one final stand against the forces of the Terran Empire and the Other. When all looks like it is to be lost and Earth's space dock is about to be destroyed, Vija and Alia arrive to combat the Other, allowing the Allied fleet to focus on combating the Terran Empire forces. The player is able to breach the Other's defenses and reach the core, confronting Terran Emperor Crusher. In a tense standoff, Emperor Crusher is defeated, and the situation is over. Thankfully, the Other is able to restore what has been destroyed, or rather, digitized, before. Alia and Vija take the Other and mirror Wesley Crusher along with them, promising to heal them both. As they leave, reminding Starfleet and allies that long ago the crew of the USS Enterprise allowed Vija and Alia to leave for a new frontier. While all is restored for Starfleet and the Allied forces, the Mirror Universe remains swept in chaos. Admiral Lita has crowned herself Empress of the Terran Empire. It seems she has plans for the BORG of the Mirror Universe.
You and I have much more important things to discuss.
Then let's get to work, Empress.
This is Captain Harry Kim of the USS Inouye. We require immediate assistance.
We are the BORG. Resistance will be annihilated.
Alright friends, we're almost towards the end of our Star Trek Online story recap. But of course, this is only the story so far. Let's talk about recent events. The latest storyline for Star Trek Online is known as the Kings and Queens arc, which deals with a lot of events and takes us right up to present day in 2026. Let's talk about the story. With a focus on return to exploration, players are tasked with assisting Malukari, known as Kumake, who has been promoted to Admiral, in rejuvenating him in a cool star. However, this does not go to plan. Friends and allies are soon intercepted by hostile Folians. This mission chain sees the player focus on defeating the Folian antagonist, Lord Kaskin, as well as the Nakul. To complete this mission, you'll ally with a Folian officer known as Bright Eyes, voiced by Daniel Ross. Some longtime Star Trek fans may know that character name. If you do, let us know in the comments. It is soon discovered that a trans-dimensional reality vortex is disrupting space-time throughout the multiverse. This is actually the same trans-dimensional reality vortex we saw at the end of Star Trek Picard Season 2. A conflict with the Folians reveals these reality vortices are appearing across the galaxy, and allowing a variety of Borg to enter. A reality vortex opens near Starbase 1, and as a player, you assist in the defeat of the Borg Kingdom forces, teaming up with the likes of Captain Harry Kim. It's this story mission that introduces and reveals a species known as the Etherians, who initially appear as peaceful allies from another dimension. They arrive to help defeat the Borg Kingdom ships and save Starbase 1. The Etherians seek to ally with the Khitomer Alliance, but in fact, they are hostile Iconian Borg hybrids, who are intent on fusing the galaxy for the purpose of ascension. Before they reveal their intentions, you team with Admiral Kumake, Captain Ezri Dax of the USS Aventine, voiced by Nicole DeBoer, Captain Kim, Director Hugh, voiced by Jonathan Del Arco, and 7 of 9, to defeat more multiversal Borg forces. In a surprise, you also have to ally with the Undine against the Mirror Borg, due to an incursion into fluidic space. During this mission, the retrieved data suggests that the Borg Kingdom, one of the many Borg multiversal species, sought to ally with the Terran Empire against the Etherians. Another mission working with the Etherians takes the player and allies to an alternate dimension to investigate another Borg incursion. Later, Director Hugh of the Cooperative Borg and the Borg Reclamation Project requests help in the Delta Quadrant. He's also investigating the Etherians along with the Borg incursions. Hugh later summons you to Deep Space Nine, where, in a covert meeting of allies, a plan is hatched to deal with the Etherians by capturing their leader, Cassine Fay. The Special Operation mission features 7 of 9 and other allies, along with you, fighting in a daring extraction mission that shifts the balance of power. With the capture of the Etherian leader, Cassine Fay, the player has to turn their attention to dealing with another threat. This is the mysterious Chimerans. They were actually seen on board the Etherian starship, Harmony. This species has been invading the galaxy, corrupting everything in their wake. It becomes clear the Chimerans are antagonistic and unable to be reasoned with. In an urgent transmission, Captain Ezri Dax and the USS Aventine request your assistance of the Midas Array, where there is more to learn about the Chimerans and their intentions. While the battle is tough, Dax's alternate counterpart arrives to assist with the mission. This is Ezri Tegan. It is revealed that the Chimerans are actually Trill Borg hybrids from another universe called the Chimeran Reality. In this universe, Trill's Symbiosis Commission experimented on joined Trill symbionts with a protomatter serum. This was in an effort to thwart an inevitable Borg invasion. The mission ends on a cliffhanger. A dying Ezri Tegan reveals to the player that she will come for me, which puzzles many. Earlier, it was stated that the Chimerans did not have a Borg queen. The final twist is the arrival of the Borg Collective, the original Borg, who demand the players ally with them against the Etherians and the Chimerans. But will this scorpion sting us again?
We are the Borg. Our survival is your survival. You will open your communication frequencies immediately.
Before we end our Star Trek Online story recap, you might be wondering what is next for the long-running video game. Well, on July 7th, a brand new adventure actually takes us back to the start of Star Trek Online. Season 36 sees you return to 2409 and experience a remastered reimagining of a fan-favourite story arc. Join Starfleet Chief of Security, Lieutenant Morale Paris, and the Doctor in vying for peace between the Federation and the Klingon Empire, and taking down forces of evil. I won't tell you much more, you need to go play this mission for yourself. We'll see you in game. So, that's a wrap up of the Star Trek Online story so far. Yes, even though we've recapped the storyline of the game, the adventure continues. You can jump into Star Trek Online for free today and begin your journey. But which faction will you be playing as? Will you be commanding a Starfleet vessel as part of a Federation, seeking glory for your house in the Klingon Empire, restoring your people as the Romulans, or even fighting for the Dominion as the Jem'Hadar? Plus, many more options. There is plenty to do and see in Star Trek Online, and I personally hope we'll see you in-game very soon. As we end this video, myself and the Trek Central team would like to extend a massive thank you to the Star Trek Online development team for helping creating this video. A big thank you to Cryptic Studios and Arc Games. This includes the likes of executive producer Thomas Maroney, senior narrative designer Flo McQuibbin, community manager Mike Fatum, PR manager Brad Crespo, and of course the many talented Galaxy-class individuals, past, present, and future, who bring Star Trek Online to life. Don't forget, you can play Star Trek Online for free on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Simply use the link in our video description to begin your journey in-game today. Perhaps I'll see you flying alongside us very soon. If you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. A big thank you to everyone who has supported us on Patreon. Your support allows us to continue making these Galaxy-class videos. For now, I've been Captain Jack. Thank you for joining me in this rather long video, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.